Hi YouTube and welcome to another Doctor Who review. I'm having to do my video from my kitchen this week because I've got my cousin staying with us and he's in my room, so I'm on the settee for this weekend. So that's why I'm downstairs and they're all upstairs sleeping. It's quite late in the evening. Before I do my review, I'm just going to talk about a few casting announcements for the Christmas special this year, which is probably going to be aired on Christmas Day as it usually is. But the first one is Nick Frost, who is famous for his roles in the Cornetto trilogy, which are Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and At World's End. He's a comedy actor, so I'll be probably used to be seeing him in a sort of comedic role. A lot of people have been speculating he's going to be playing Santa Claus, but I think playing Santa Claus in a series that's now taking a darker turn, sort of more dark tone, would be quite cheesy and not really relevant to the series as it is now. But he's also been seen on set with Dan Starkey, which is also making me believe that the Paternoster gang are going to return in the Christmas special, which I'm not sure how I feel about that at the moment, because the Paternoster gang in recent episodes have been a bit sort of hit and miss. I've not really liked them in thingy, especially Strax. Strax's character is starting to degrade on me and he's not funny anymore. He's just become a sort of joke. So the second actor to be announced is an actor called Nathan McMullen, who some of you will know from a show called Misfits, which is about superheroes. Well, not really superheroes. They're people on community service who get struck by lightning and who get powers and use it. It's a fun show. It was on E4. I mean, it's finished now. His two series were the weaker of the five, but I preferred the first three, but he's a good actor himself, and Misfits is worth a watch if you ever get a chance to see it. The third actor that's been announced is an actor called Michael Troughton. Obviously, Troughton, the name Troughton in Doctor Who is a famous one. He's Patrick Troughton's son, and he's going to be in the Christmas special as well, and we've already had David Troughton in Midnight, so this is going to be the third Troughton to be in Doctor Who, which is quite exciting because it's all keeping it in the family. So that in terms of that, I'm quite excited for that. And the fourth actress to be announced in the Christmas special is an actress called Natalie Gumedi, who is in the soap Coronation Street. I say is. Her character is actually in prison at the minute, so she's not actually in the show at the minute. She took some time out to be on Strictly Come Dancing. She plays a villain. She won Villain of the Year in the Soap Awards, and I'd be interested to see if she plays a good character for a change, because it would be nice to see her try a hand at a good character instead of a villain. But enough about cast announcements. I'm now going to move on to my actual review of episode 5, which is written by Steve Thompson and Stephen Moffat. Which really annoyed me because Steve Thompson's work on Doctor Who hasn't been the best. He wrote Curse of the Black Spot and Journey to the Centre of the TARDIS, which were two of the weaker episodes, I think. Certainly Journey to the Centre of the TARDIS was one of the worst ones of the second half of Series 7. Curse of the Black Spot wasn't too bad, and the fact that Stephen Moffat now has under his belt 4 out of the 5 episodes of Series 8, his name has appeared in the writing credits, I think is beyond a joke. I think him co-writing Into the Dalek and now co-writing Time Heist and co-writing The Caretaker from next week is starting to get a bit annoying. It's like he doesn't want other writers, so if he's going to do that, he might as well write every episode of the series if he's going to do that. That's what annoyed me about it. And we had another Moffat Loop in this episode. A Moffat Loop in the episode, making reference to the woman in the shop. Yes, I get that there's plot point, but it's pointing obvious plot points out to us that is quite annoying. We could have obviously figured that there's not many people who have the Doctor's phone number. I mean, obviously, director Clara was one of them, but there's other people that obviously have that number, including the woman in the shop that gave it to Clara. Which is what annoyed me quite a lot. I didn't like the Ocean's 11 sort of bank heist theme. I don't think it lends itself to Doctor Who very well, the whole bank heist thing. And the fact that it turned out to be a rescue mission saved the episode for me. I thought that was really good quality. Yeah, I'm really sorry that this is going to be more of a negative review. I generally didn't like this episode very well. I found it quite boring. I found myself drifting on my first viewing of it, I found myself playing on games and sort of only looking up and glancing. Bearing in mind, again, this was at 12:30 in the morning, but I got up on Sunday morning and watched the episode again just to make sure that it wasn't sort of thing. But again, I found it quite. I think it was the pacing problems. The episode was directed by Douglas McKinnon, who is a veteran for Doctor Who. He did last week's episode, and he's done Cold War and other episodes in the past. And he's a good director, but I think with how fast paced the episode, it's something to do with his directing. I think it's more of the editing choices. There was a lot of the things played out in slow motion in an episode that was already slow paced to begin with, or felt slow paced. It certainly seemed to drag on a lot, which was one of the things that I disliked about it. Another thing that I didn't like was the concept of the don't think. We've had don't blink, and as an audience, when the weeping angels are on thingy, certainly me, I don't like blinking. I think they're gonna come and get me. And again, the same thing with deep breath. It was how long can you hold your breath for? When we see those things, I felt like I had to hold my breath. But when you're told not to think about something on camera, it's not the same, because you always have to think when you're watching something, even if it's subconsciously. You're always thinking. So I don't feel like I couldn't connect to that. But I did like the teller and the fact that he played on looking for people's guilt. I thought that was a clever little twist of the series, because last week we had fear. I like that they're playing on human emotions. So we had fear last week, and now this week we've got guilt. I did like that. So I'm going to talk about the supporting characters in the episode. We had Miss Delphox, who was played by Keely Hawes, who I thought did a good job as a villain, but I don't think she was any different to any of the other women, white women in black suits villains that we've had. We've had people like Margaret Sladine and Miss Kislet, Madame Kavarian, Miss Foster, Yvonne Hartman, all these people. She has managed to distinguish herself from the rest of them. I'm not going to dispute that, but I think we've had a few of these, and it's sort of Moffat reusing ideas. He's done this quite a lot in this series. He reused ideas in the first episode. He's reused ideas with the antibodies in the second episode. Certainly last week he's reused lots of ideas with the knocking on the thing with Midnight. He's just reusing a lot of ideas, which I'm finding quite irritating as well. One thing I did quite like is the final line in the episode with the beat that for a date. I think the Doctor's getting quite jealous that Clara's leading this double life. I do like the double life thing, although I'm getting quite annoyed with Stephen Moffat using companions in a domestic way. I like that when they're not domestic. So Clara is spending a lot of time with Danny, and I'm not saying that Danny's not a good character or anything, but a companion has to either be, in my opinion, has to be someone who is with the Doctor all the time, dedicates their whole time to the Doctor. I mean, when Rory was travelling, he was travelling with the Doctor as well. It was only in Series 7 when they started to get domesticated and stayed at home, and the Doctor would come and visit and then drag them off on adventures, which is what Capaldi is doing here with Clara. But yeah, I think the Doctor's getting slightly jealous of Clara in sort of a young boy crying for attention sort of way. And considering there's been rumours Jenna Coleman's leaving the series at Christmas, certainly with the way that this episode and the teasers for next week's episode, it's starting to plan out that I think she's probably going to stay with Danny and maybe get married. I mean, obviously there was last week that was hinting that Orson Pink is related to them, and he gives her the thing, and she gives him the soldier toy thing, and then he gives it her back. So I do think that that's going to be something that's played on a little. So I'm going to talk about the twist at the end of the episode. I mean, there was a few twists. There was the twist which I figured out from the start, which was the Doctor was the architect. I hadn't read the leaked script for this episode. I'd seen obviously I watched the leaked episode, episode 1, and episode 3, but I only watched the third episode leak because of I wanted to see the beheading scene that was cut out of Robert of Sherwood, and I watched episode 1's leak after the episode to see if there's anything different, but there wasn't. I knew that twist was coming. I saw it coming. I found it quite obvious. just with all the clues we've been given throughout the episode. I did like the little return of the memory worm from the snowman. I thought that was a nice little addition to it. I thought the pre-title sequence, like the rest of the pre-title sequences from this series, have been great, and it was in making it, hyping the episode up. But then the episode fell short, as with last week's and certainly this week's, it fell short. But I'm going to talk about production next. Production is, I've mentioned this in most of my videos. I think production value has gone up massively on this series. It looked great. The teller looked great. The bank looked great. Certainly outside the bank looked great. It's just the production. You can't fault the production. The budget for Doctor Who's never been that great, but they've managed to make it look incredible. The special effects and stuff this year have been off the chart, and I think that there's no exception with this episode. I'm not disputing that. I think the production elements are so good. I'm going to talk about my favourite character in this episode before I finish the review, and that's Sai, played by Jonathan Bailey. I thought his character was just the best. I thought the fact that he's sort of cyborg, part computer, and he can plug himself in and stuff, I thought that was a good thing. When I thought he died, I generally felt sad. I thought, oh god, another character's dead. And then obviously when they both turned out that they weren't dead, that was like, yay, he's not dead. But there's quite a lot of danger in this episode, and espionage and all the sort of things you'd expect to find in a heist episode, which I thought was really great. Miss Delphox's character was really threatening. The teller wasn't so threatening, considering it was a good creature that had just been sort of brainwashed into being bad. And it was and the fact that I liked the ending when there was two of them and they went off into their own little into their home planet, and the Doctor and Clara just stood there on the cliff watching them. I thought that was a very nice scene, and the green screen looked great in that scene. But I thought there was a lot of danger in it. Something which hasn't been missing from Doctor Who this year. Again, I'm going to talk about how dark it's been. How it's been getting darker and darker and darker, and I don't think this episode was any different. I mean, it's going up to 8:30 in the time slot in the UK next week, as opposed to 7:30 what it has been. So it's going past it'll be going post Watershed, which is something which I don't think has been done before. Certainly with Doctor Who, it's never been done before. So I think it's changing demographics. The actual show is changing demographics. It's going to an older audience, but then we're losing our younger audience, which is always a shame. Either way, I don't think people will stop watching it. The people that are watching it now won't stop watching it. I know I certainly won't. And I love the danger and the fast pacedness of the episode. Especially with and Clara is still a character that's I'm finding very hard to figure out at the moment, because she is loving this. She enjoys the danger of it. But she also enjoys the domestic of it. She'll quickly, at the snap of a click of her finger, she'll jump straight on the TARDIS and go on an adventure with the Doctor, but then she'll go home and spend time with Danny and work and stuff. There's been companions who have been there for reasons like Ian and Barbara were there because they had no choice. The Doctor kept them there, and Donna and Rose wanted out and they wanted to see the world. And Sarah Jane was already a reporter, so she'd seen adventure, and there were people who worked for UNIT. So I don't get Clara yet, but I don't know. So I'm just gonna sum up now. I thought the episode was poor. I'm gonna give it 5 out of 10. Stephen Moffat. Oh, change your ways, sir. Yeah, I thought it was poor, and there were so many improvements that could have been. Generally watching the trailer for the episode, I thought it was going to be great. But when I find something boring and not wanting to watch it again, it's never a good sign. And I found myself sort of, as I said, drifting off. So it's only going to get a 5 this week. I think that's the lowest I've given one of the episodes from Series 8 so far. But I generally feel that it was the worst one from Series 8 so far. So, what did you think of the episode? Leave a comment, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I will be back next week with a Gotham pilot episode review from series 1, episode 1, and I will also be back next week with a caretaker review for Doctor Who, episode 6, which again is written by Stephen Moffat, but I'm hoping I'm going to change my mind about him. So I will see you next week. Ciao.